Earlier, he talked about former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's independent bid in the New York City mayor's race. Potpourri of news out of the White House. Senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich has it all live from the North Lawn. Good evening, Jackie.
Good evening, Brett. The president out in Pennsylvania touting those investments as consumer prices heated up in June, breaking a months-long cooling streak. Might be an early sign that tariffs are making their way to Americans' wallets.
China and other countries are racing to catch up to America, having to do with AI, and we're not going to let them do it.
President Trump trekking to Pittsburgh to tout billions in private investment to accelerate AI development. Google pledging $25 billion to train AI models and build infrastructure. Private equity firm Blackstone pledging another $25 billion for data centers. Collectively, 20 companies committed $90 billion to power innovation in the battleground state.
Today's commitments are ensuring that the future is going to be designed, built, and made right here in Pennsylvania and right here in Pittsburgh.
It comes as inflation ticked up to 2.7% in June, with some signs retailers are passing off tariff burdens of cars, home furnishings, and apparel to consumers. Core inflation, excluding volatile food and energy prices, also picked up to 2.9% annually. The data in line with expectations, prompting the president to again call for interest rate cuts, prodding Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell.
I told him he's doing a very bad job. He's way late. That's why I call him too late. Jerome Powell is too late. He's way late. Interest rates should be coming down.
The Treasury Secretary says work to find Powell's replacement is underway.
Well, look, there's a formal process that's already starting. There are a lot of great candidates, and we'll see how rapidly it progresses. It's President Trump's decision, and it will move at his speed.
Powell has resisted cutting rates, citing tariff policy uncertainty. The president announcing a deal with Indonesia Tuesday.
So they are giving us access into Indonesia, which we never had. That's probably the biggest part of the deal. One of the things, as you know, they're known for is very high quality copper, which we'll be using.
President Trump says the U.S. will have free access to Indonesian markets, but Indonesia will pay 19% tariffs. It comes 1 week after the president threatened to slap that country with 32% tariffs if they did not come to an agreement with the U.S. The rest of the world seems to be taking note of this formula. The Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney conceded today that any trade deal with the U.S. will likely not be tariff-free. Brett.
And Jackie, speaking of free things, Zohran Mamdani, who promised free child care, among other things, campaigning for New York City mayor, also getting some reaction from President Trump today.
And that's right. The president's insult to Mamdani came alongside an expression of support for former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to stay in the race, he said, after he lost the Democratic primary. The president branding Mamdani this.
Look, he's a communist. I don't think our country is ready for a communist, but we're going to see. And I don't think that race is over yet either. You do have a couple of people running against.
Mamdani is a Democratic socialist, but the president apparently sees that as a distinction without a difference. Mamdani's campaign celebrated what it called Cuomo's Trump endorsement, which might also come as a surprise to New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who is also running as an independent after working across the aisle with President Trump on issues like immigration, Brett.
Jackie Heinrich, live on the North Lawn. Jackie, thank you. Concerns over inflation and corporate earnings led the Dow to a 436-point loss today. The S&P 500 fell 25. The Nasdaq gained 37 for its second straight record close. Tonight we are still waiting the Senate's first procedural vote, as you look live at the Senate floor there, on the Trump administration's effort to claw back billions of dollars in federal spending, much of it from foreign aid and public broadcasting. The president is pressuring reluctant Republicans to get on board. Here's senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram.
Republicans often chatter about cutting spending.
We are $37 trillion in debt.
We do need to tighten the belt.
Get rid of this wasteful spending and help restore trust again.
But there's worry that Senate Republicans could stumble trying to cut $9 billion recommended by DOGE.
We should be able to do that in our sleep, but there is looking like there's enough opposition.
To court votes, GOP leaders slashed $400 million in cuts from the package, restoring money for the global AIDS program known as PEPFAR.
There was a lot of interest among our members in doing something on the PEPFAR issue. You're still talking about a $9 billion rescissions package, even with that small modification.
Still, Democrats won't help.
They've changed and added a small amount on the foreign aid proposal, but it still leaves an enormous vacuum that China and Russia will fill.
Republicans say silencing public broadcasting is long overdue.
North Dakota Public Radio, about 26% of their budget is federal funding. To me, that's more of an indictment than it is a need.
There's a race for the Senate and House to pass the same bill by a Friday night deadline, but the Senate changes could complicate that.
We wanted them to pass it unaltered, as we did. So we'll have to process that.
$9 billion is just 0.1% of federal funding. DOJ initially promised more than $1 trillion in cuts. What does this say for the party if they can't even pass this bill, this piddling amount of money?
And we should.
Budget Director Russ Vought met with Senate Republicans earlier. He aimed to convince skeptics to support the plan. A test vote comes tonight.
Chad, also there's this effort, why did this plan to consider cryptocurrency bills blow up in the House today?
Well, 9 Republicans rebelled to block the House from debating a trio of crypto bills today. Conservatives say the plan did not go far enough, barring the Fed from creating its own cryptocurrency. And Bitcoin fell by 3% in trading today. Brett?
Chad Burkham live on the Hill. Chad, thanks. President Trump's choice to be his ambassador to the United Nations took heavy fire today during his Senate confirmation hearing. Former National Security Advisor Mike Waltz left that job after being blamed for a communication leak regarding military plans. Several questions about that, especially from Democrats. State Department correspondent Jillian Turner reports.
I've seen you not only fail to stand up, but lie. I cannot support your nomination.
Senate Democrats had their knives out for Michael Waltz today at his hearing to become U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Their focus, Waltz's role in Signalgate, a scandal that saw U.S. military plans accidentally sent to a journalist via an encryption app.
I was hoping to hear from you that you had some sense of regret over sharing what was very sensitive, timely information about a military strike.
Signal has not been approved for use by U.S. government officials for the sharing of classified information. Is that correct?
That is correct, Senator.
The former Green Beret congressman and national security advisor refuted the premise of Democrats' accusations.
There was no classified information shared.
He redirected attention to the administration's accomplishments.
President Trump has brought dozens of hostages home, justice for our Abbey Gate Gold Star families, secured the border, denied Iran a nuclear weapon, brought ceasefires to conflicts in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia.
But Democrats had plenty of vitriol to go around from China.
Why did you believe that it advanced U.S. national security interests to shut down our most important agencies that try to win the information war?
To the war in Gaza.
I didn't hear you or President Trump or Secretary Rubio ever call upon the Netanyahu government publicly to end that blockade.
Committee Republicans defended Waltz's record.
One of the most well-qualified U.S. ambassador nominees to the United Nations ever.
Well, I appreciate your focus on what is obviously a bloated organization.
Well, Waltz also spent a considerable amount of time today talking about his plan to reform the UN, arguing that its leadership is anti-Semitic and the U.S. monetary contribution is disproportionately large. Brett?
Jillian Turner at the State Department. Jillian, thank you. Up next, a key Democratic senator says President Trump has ceded America's leadership position on the world stage to China. We'll talk about that and press New Hampshire Senator Jeanne Shaheen.
This program is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Saving for retirement was tough enough.
And navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments we keep a disciplined approach with your portfolio, helping you through the market's ups and downs.
What about communication?
We check in regularly to keep you informed.
Which means you'll help us stay on track?
Yes. As a fiduciary, we always put your interest first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with the
big story to tell. I take one's daily Jardians at each day start. As time went on, it was
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardians and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardians may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired, and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardians. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardians is really swell, the little pill with the big story to tell.
If you're like I was, you're tired of worn-out plastic mats under your office chair. They dent and crack, and they're uncomfortable to roll on. I found a premium alternative, a glass chair mat by Vitraza. I liked it so much, I bought the company. I'm George Pardo, president of Vitraza. Our glass chair mats are made of super strong glass and protected with a nanotech coating, so you'll always get a smooth, easy glide. And they're beautiful. Tired of replacing plastic? I promise this is the last chair mat you'll need. And we give you a lifetime warranty. Comfort, style, durability. A Vitraza glass chair mat will completely transform your workspace, home office or office. We stock 18 popular sizes, and we ship free to anywhere in the lower 48. Get the look you deserve. I invite you to shop online at Vitraza.com. Use promo code TV and save 10% on any glass chair mat at Vitraza.com.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cuno Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cuno's